Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. It's Carolyn. Today I have another collective reading for you. If you're new to the channel, I want to say welcome. Please subscribe. I would love to have you a part of this family, and I'm going to have other videos of mine linked in the cards above for you to watch after this one. If you were drawn to watch this video, if the title or the thumbnail resonate for you, definitely continue to watch it because there's going to be a message in it for you. If not, I'll have my playlist of other collective readings linked in the cards above so you can find something that does resonate for you. So this reading today might be a little bit short, but I feel like it's a message that you need to hear. So getting into your cards, I use my Moonology deck for you. You have conclusions are within reach, full moon eclipse, show the world the real you, full moon in Aquarius, prosperity lies ahead, new moon in Taurus, surrender to the divine, full moon, a time to give rather than take, new moon in Virgo, and don't let pride get in your way, full moon in Leo. So I think the biggest block for you is that there has been a situation that you have already drawn your conclusions to. You have already assumed the ending. It's like you picked up a book, instead of reading the last page, you just kind of skimmed the meaning of it and said, this is how it's going to end. And you haven't confirmed that in any way, but that is what you're driving with. And so you're moving forward, proceeding with this conclusion already in mind. And it's actually leading you to fall down a rabbit hole that is not beneficial to you because the ending's not as you assumed. And instead of accepting that and accepting that it's unknown or that you thought wrong, you weren't right, you're doubling down on it and you're hindering yourself. And so I feel like you're being faced right now with this opportunity to dive into the real you, to show the world the real you, but it requires adjusting and changing this outcome that you had in mind, and so you're refusing to. And so it's like you're stuck right now trying to figure out what the right course of action is for you, and you don't know what to do. You feel stuck, you feel like you're in limbo because what you're being told to do isn't matching with what you've told yourself to do. And so there's this confusion where you're throwing your hands up saying, I don't understand, I don't know, because you're trying to ignore what you're being shown, what's being revealed to you. Because you have prosperity lies ahead, new moon in Taurus, but this is blocked right now. It feels like prosperity is not lying ahead unless you make adjustments for yourself, because this prosperity that you think you're going to get is different than what you actually think. So it's not that prosperity doesn't lie ahead, but it's not happening in the way that you assumed it would. And that's your biggest block right now, is that you're not accepting that, you're not listening to that. And that's why you have surrender to the divine, the full moon, because you're not actually surrendering to the divine. That's what you need to do. Right now you're fighting it, you're resisting it, you're holding on to what you think and what you prepared yourself for. And that's why it's a time to give rather than to take. You're trying to take this for yourself. You're trying to hold on to this conclusion, to this assumption, and you're trying to bend reality to fit this idea. And that's not how it works. You need to give and allow yourself to surrender in this way, because right now your pride's getting in your way. So it's like right now you're so desperate to hold on to this conclusion because it's what you wanted, because it's what you told yourself it's what you were going to get. You feel like you deserved it. But just because that's not happening doesn't mean that you're getting something bad, but because it's different, your ego doesn't like it, your pride doesn't like it. And so it's trying to double down and say, no, that's wrong, I'm right, I always knew what was going to happen, and I'm not letting anything tell me differently. And that's hindering you because it's not making you flexible. And when you're not flexible, you break. And so that's where you're teetering in this confusion, in this limbo of not knowing what to do. And that's why it's so difficult for you, because you're not accepting what you need to do. You're not being flexible, and you're causing your own heartache right now. Especially for those of you where you're in a relationship, it feels like this person that you're with right now might be too prideful. They might be too harsh with their anger. They might do things that make you have to tiptoe around them. And instead of accepting them and saying, hey, you know what, this relationship isn't functional, it's not healthy, we either need to make some changes or I need to get out. Instead of accepting that and realizing the reality of the situation, you're dimming yourself, hiding who you really are, and tiptoeing around that. And so it almost feels like right now you are doing everything but making yourself happy by accepting that a change needs to occur, whether this is a relationship, whether this is a situation. Instead of saying, hey, you know what, like this would actually make me happy, even though it might cause temporary dissatisfaction, I need to allow myself to adjust this, to make some changes, and just go with the flow and see what happens. Because obviously I don't know what's going to happen because it would have happened already. Instead of admitting that to yourself, you're just grasping, holding on to anything and you don't care that it's pulling you down, that you're sinking with it. And I feel like that's what Spirit's giving you this message for. It's not that Spirit is trying to hurt you or to say that what you want is impossible, but the way you're going about it is not working right now. You know it's not working, and yet you're not changing anything. You're not surrendering. You're not being flexible. And so there's nothing that the universe can do, there's nothing that other people can do until you admit that you were wrong, until you admit you need to change course, until you admit that you need to go about it in a different way. You're being too prideful right now, but the only person you're hurting is yourself. You have made conclusions, but they were wrong, and you need to accept that in order to change. There's a lot of introspection that needs to happen right now. There needs to be this internal growth in order for you to shift your mindset, because it feels like your authentic self wants to come out. You want to act differently and present yourself in a different way, but that scares your ego, and so you're not allowing yourself to change. And since you're not allowing yourself to change, your thoughts and your patterns and the things that you were working towards are not allowed to change. And so you're creating this stagnant energy, this time that you're locking yourself into, instead of allowing yourself to adjust, to adapt. And it's blocking this prosperity because you can't get it if you're not willing to climb up the mountain. And when you're climbing up a mountain, you have to navigate your path as you see fit. You have to be flexible and make those adjustments because it's hard to hike. Sometimes the earth moves in a direction that you didn't expect, or something juts out. If you're so stubborn trying to go your actual way, that's going to be impossible. You have to adjust and adapt to the situation that presents itself to you. And so you might have had a conclusion. It's okay to do that. Sometimes we all make assumptions. That's human nature. But what you need to be mindful of is correcting and adjusting them when you're proving them wrong. And what you need to understand about this, that your ego doesn't like, your ego's trying to hide from, but it's really not that big of a deal, is the fact that if you were correct, it would have worked out by now. If your assumptions were correct, if your conclusions were correct, it would be yours right now. You would be happy. You would have everything you want. You don't. You're stuck in limbo. You're confused. You don't know what to do because your conclusions were wrong. That doesn't mean that you yourself weren't worthy. That doesn't mean anything about yourself. It was just a thought that didn't pan out. Sometimes that happens. That's just life. And so you don't need to berate yourself, even though that's what your ego wants to do, even though that's why your ego is trying to deny this. But right now you're in denial, and that's not helping you in any way. It's better to admit defeat and fix it and move on than stay stuck because you refuse to admit that you were wrong. And so instead of allowing your ego to hide you from the truth, allow yourself to accept that you were wrong. Okay, my conclusions were wrong. What does that mean? Figure out what then needs to change. How much of your conclusions were wrong? Because by doing that, you start to make these steps of progress where you can surrender, you can adapt, you can adjust, and get this prosperity. Right now, you're your biggest enemy because you're just denying everything. And that's why it's so hard for you to find what to do, because you're not saying yes to anything. You're not trying anything. You're asking yourself, the universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it, you're asking, what do I do? What's my next step? How do I fix this? But then every time you're given the advice of how to fix it, you're saying, I don't want to do that. Well, that's too difficult. Well, that's too complicated. Well, I don't feel like doing that. Well, that's not what I wanted. You're too nitpicky. You're nitpicking every single piece of advice. And until you start to accept something and just try it out, it's never going to lead to anything. And so because you're denying everything and you're in this stage of denial, you're going to be stuck here forever until you decide to change that. And I think that's what Spirit wanted to call out for you. It's not that you are wrong, but your mindset currently is, and you're not doing anything to counter that. And you can't be helped until you're ready to accept help. And I think that's something that a lot of you are struggling with. It's like you're asking for help and you feel like no one is helping you, but everyone is trying to help you. You're just not accepting it. And so ultimately it comes down to yourself if you're going to make this change or not, because no one can force you to. All that I can do, all that Spirit can do, is let you know what is currently going on, and it's up to you to be the one to make the change. Because right now you need to give rather than to take. Instead of holding on to what you wanted, it's time to surrender to it and allow the universe to show you the path forward, because you didn't know it. And you still don't know it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we all have to learn. Sometimes we all have to be a little bit humbled by the universe in order for things to eventually work out. And so just be a little bit more patient, but make adjustments where you stop holding on to things that aren't good for you. Your pride's getting in your way. And you need to allow yourself to accept that and stop denying it. That's your biggest block right now, is that you're unwilling to compromise, is that you're unwilling to accept the reality of the situation. And if you're unwilling to do that, there's nothing anyone else can do for you. There's no way to fix this, because it's up to you to surrender. Because there's a lot of full moons here and then new moons. So this is literally about releasing and then manifesting. In order to manifest, you need to release. There's so many other cards in this deck with different phases of the moon, but you didn't get it, because that's what you need to do right now. You need to release in order to manifest. You cannot manifest if you don't release. There's no room for the new stuff to come into your life. And so that's your biggest obstacle right now that you need to overcome. And it's something that I hope you're able to overcome. You have the power to do so. If you think you're powerless, I want you to know that you're not. You have the tools to do so. It's just, are you going to allow yourself to do it or not? Are you going to move your pride away and allow yourself to be guided by your authentic self? Because this is your present moment right now, showing the world the real you. So right now you have a choice to either hide behind your ego or step into your power. So this is your defining moment. This can be your future, or it can be reversed where it's not your future. That choice is up to yours, because in the past you made this conclusion, and it's up to you in this moment to figure out if you stick with it or not, if you adapt or you don't. And so I would really suggest for you to take moments to be introspective, to be more mindful, to work on accepting what is your ego versus what is your intuition. Allow yourself to do shadow work, or just do some daily prompts with yourself to start to change your mindset and allow you to start to surrender. Talk to people in your life. Be open with them, whether that's a family member, a close friend, a therapist. Get out of your own head and your own way and ask people for their advice so that you can figure out what is the easiest path for you to do in order to surrender. Because this process is not easy, especially when your ego is in control, but it is doable for you, and it is something you need to do if you want things to change, if you want this prosperity, even if it's in a way that's different than you expected. And so I feel like this was just Spirit's way to call you out and let you know what you need to do in order to get where you want to be. Because this current path, this current trajectory is not working. And so an adjustment needs to be made, or else you're always going to be stuck in limbo. And so I hope that this helped you out. I hope that this gave you the push you needed to start to change your mindset and get out of your ego's control. And so if this did resonate for you, give this video a big thumbs up to let me know that you liked it and you want to see more content like this from me. Let me know in the YouTube comments down below, or ask any questions. I'll get back to you as best as I can. Also share this video with others who need to hear it. And if you want to watch more of my videos, I'm going to have them linked in the cards above. I hope that they help you out just as much. And I can't wait to see you all in my next video. I hope you have a good one. Until then, bye.